Hey, welcome to our ILP Podcast. Basically what we're going to do is I'm going to go over a trend, he's going to go over a trend, and my trend is going to be esports.
And I'm going to talk about dark tourism.
So I'm going to start.
Yeah, go for it.
So my trend is esports, obviously, and by definition, esports it's a multiplayer video game played competitively for spectators, typically by professional gamers. But the thing is, I don't like that definition because I feel like a lot of times when you compete in video games, I think an esport, I think the trend is basically for when we think of recreation department, I think it's more not for spectators. I think it's just a 5-on-5 or a 4-on-4. I don't think anyone's really watching. I mean, they can be, but I don't like that definition very much. And then they say professional gamers, and I think the trend also targets people that aren't really the best at it. There's a whole I'm going to go over the competition aspect of it, people getting paid for it and stuff. Mm-hmm. But when you think of our major, it's for people that that play it just for recreation. And for me personally, I play it. I don't play it for people to watch me. I'm not very good at it. That good at it to where people are watching and spend money on.
As far as competitive gameplay goes, you wouldn't do competitive esports stuff.
Yeah,
you just do it for fun.
So when I looked the definition up, it was the first thing that came up online. So it's I didn't really agree with it. It's the first thing that came to my mind. So I'm going to go into a little bit of the history. So games that are viewed as esports. It's not really history, but it's just something that it's been how esports targeted when it came to games. Fighting games. The games where you have you have a specific set of buttons to press for a certain move.
Yeah.
And stuff like that. I can never do them, but people that's a big trend when it comes to esports. First-person shooters, which is my favorite, Halo, Call of Duty, all this stuff. It's kind of self-explanatory. Real-time strategy, and then multiplayer online battle arenas. So Dragon. No, what am I talking about? What's the League of Legends? League of Legends is an example. It's an arena. Rocket League is an arena. Mm-hmm. It's a 2-on-2 arena. What's your thought on esports?
Yeah, I think esports is cool. It's definitely up and coming. I know a lot of kids are into it, and I know a lot of parents have issues with a lot of it as far as not wanting their kids to have so much gameplay time. Mm-hmm. They want them to focus on other things, and they say, where is gaming going to take you? But you can obviously see, I think, what you're probably going to touch on is the amount of money these guys make is
it's crazy.
It is
crazy.
Yeah.
And then what would you consider it a sport?
Yeah. Do you have the definition of sport by chance? When I think of sport, I think of your typical baseball, football, those kinds of sports. Right? So I guess it is competitive play, and the esport competitions is competitive play. So yeah, I can see it being somewhat of a sport. Yeah, and it gets your heart going, and I mean, it is. Yeah, it's
So the reason why I didn't really look it up is because we talked about it in Jeff's class actually. What was the first class we took with Jeff? It wasn't this class. It was the one with the programming. Yeah, programming. We did talk about that in a little bit, and he brought up his definition. I couldn't find it, so So he brought up the fact that I think under Jeff's definition, he had esports under sport, and I think a lot of people would put esports under sports in general under a physical category. Yeah. And if you look at esports, and it's not physical. It's not. It's just not. It doesn't have that aspect. And if I look at NASCAR too, same thing. I mean, yeah, you sweat, and they say it's hard and stuff, and I'm sure it is. But I don't know. I don't know. I would consider it a sport, but its own category of a sport. Esport, I think you can't really argue the fact that it's not competitive.
Right.
And it takes a lot of mind work, and I'm going to go into that in the future.
I think it's definitely a sport, but it's going to take some time for a lot of people to realize that it's a different type of sport, but it is a sport, I think.
And it's hard for people that don't play esports to
understand
play video games, grasp the fact that it's hard, it's tough. It's a lot of these kids are crazy at these games, and I'm online and I get smacked sometimes.
I mean, when you're playing this for recreation purposes, and you're playing against somebody who's so good, it must be real competitive. Yeah.
For sure. Now I really go on to the history. It didn't just become a thing in universities, although recently, all these things, all these stories about people, universities bringing it into their organization. For example, when it gets to Illinois State, how we're putting it in ours, it's been a thing for a long time. The first recorded esport took place in 1972, so that's a long time ago. And it was like a space war game. I didn't look that up what it was, but it's apparently a 2-player game, and I would assume it's a fighting game, some sort of fighting game where you would play someone else. And in Stanford, this tournament, the winner took home a year-long subscription to the Rolling Stones magazine. So I looked the prices up. And that today would account to, obviously it'd be a little bit more back then because magazines were more popular probably then.
Yeah.
But that would be $50 to that today. So like a year-long subscription to Rolling Stone magazine would be $50. So for example, to compare that a little bit, so recently there was a Fortnite World Cup. Obviously I'd bring that up. A guy named Buga Giersdorf won that. He's a 16-year-old. He won that whole tournament. It was a huge tournament. $13 million. What do you think someone should earn that much money in a video game?
I mean, the thing is, people watch, and that's how they make money. These people feed them the money, and I mean that's how Yeah.
So do you think it's like a business thing? Like they just oh, okay, people are watching our game, so let's just go take advantage of it. I think one of the questions I'm gonna ask later is if you think it's gonna like continue the trend, like the trend. If you think that the trend's gonna like continue as like a bigger thing, or if it's gonna fade away. I think we talked about it in the other classes.
Yeah.
If the trend's gonna fade. In the late 1970s and 1980s, arcade games controlled the esports world, and like the record breaking, like you break someone's record and stuff like that. I remember in a lot of shows. I know, for example, Stranger Things. They did a thing where this guy was like really good at this arcade game, and he was like no one could beat him. And he tried to beat this record.
Oh yeah, when they had the arcade in the city. Yeah.
So I don't know if it's more of that or like they're fighting someone else. Like I don't know, like for example, if you first thing I think of is Pong. So you just like have this like you playing one-on-one against somebody, or if it was just like arcade, like beating record. I'm sure it was kind of both.
Like the arcade style, where you see the list of people who play last, and
you can put like a weird name in it. Right. But yeah, so consoles didn't really get into the esports world until like the 2000s, and then mid 2010s, that's when League of Legends became a thing on the computer, and that's when and that's huge now. It's still huge. It's like 10 years after that, and it's huge. Like it's the biggest one, I think.
Yeah.
So it's really big, and lately Twitch streamers also killing it in the industry. So if you think of Ninja, Shroud, all these people, do you watch people play?
Not so much, but I follow like highlights and stuff. I think I follow Ninja on social media, and I see some of his highlights and stuff. Yeah.
So that's like a little history of esports in general. But now I'm gonna start getting into why it's a trend and why we should, as rec professionals, think about it and what we should do to take advantage of this trend, or if we should. What is the big? Why do you think it's a trend? Like, why do you think all of a sudden it's just like this big thing and just everyone wants to be involved?
Technology is just huge now, and it's. I mean, we haven't had these things. What we have now was not here 10 years ago, and I mean, technology is advancing further and further every year, and I feel like it's not going away anytime soon. That's just.
You don't think so? You don't think so?
The technology is gonna and I mean, the way game developers work now, they're always trying to find the best new game. Their graphics on these games are incredible. It's just like, I mean. Endless possibilities.
So do you think technology getting better is the main reason why it's becoming this big thing?
Then I think just the competitive edge that this whole thing brings to the table. It's like, I mean, all that combined.
So the main reason why, that's a good point. That's definitely a good point I didn't think about. But a good point, a big thing that I saw was that it built a community. So like people that, I don't know. So like, I was about to say something else I'm going to get to later. But universities are putting the teams together. Illinois State, for example, is bringing a varsity team. So the difference of that and what we had, so we've had this thing to where like we had teams. We've always had clubs. Not always, but for a long time we've had clubs playing these games. The difference is we're making a varsity esports team. So what that is this team is going to go play other schools, and it's going to be a big thing. And it's launching next year, or this coming year, so 2020.
So how many other schools have this kind of or is that coming up in your talk on?
So I was actually going to get to that. It's the first varsity level in the state. So in a public institution. So I'm sure private schools might have it,
Yeah.
but publicly, Illinois State is the first team to do it.
Okay.
And I thought that was really interesting that we're getting to that. And I think it's very smart because you're making other schools look at you, and then if this little varsity team it gets successful and earns the school money, because it could earn them money. If it earns them money, they'll want to do it.
Yeah, everyone's gonna start.
And the esport world is gonna just do nothing but flourish.
Yeah.
Because all these imagine like the professionals now getting like they're able to recruit in colleges now. Like, oh, this person's good, I'm gonna pick them up from these school matchups that I've seen.
Yeah.
So it's like kind of like college football and like professional football. They look at colleges and they're like, I want that person on my team because I'm recruiting, you know? So just a really cool fact about that. They've always had this arena, this place where we can, not arena, but this place that they can play these games competitively, these teams, these clubs. It was in Julian Hall, and they're going to move it to the Bowling and Billiard Center and the Activity Center, like the activity room, you know, like that room that no one ever goes into.
That's where the esports.
That's where it's going to be. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So like they're going to put it's actually a really big room.
Now is that just for like courses and esports and stuff like that, or is that for people to go and play for themselves?
I don't know about that exactly, but I'm sure. I think they're trying to maybe they'll make it open for computer like lab kind of thing.
That's what I was like, a computer lab kind of open. I
was always in there, and that room is really big, and I've never seen it used. And I'm sure they use it for other stuff, and I'm sure they still will use it for other stuff because it's a place to hold anything like because the bone is getting bigger too, so like they're using a lot of rooms in the bone too. But I'm sure they can use that room for something else other than that. But I think it's crazy that they're moving over to that. Like Illinois State's like, we're gonna move this over here because it's gonna help us. Like it's gonna help build this program up. It allows the school to help students connect, and I feel like when you're recruiting, I'm gonna share a quote in a second. But if you're recruiting people and you let them know, oh, we're thinking about the esports community or people that can compete and want to play these games, it shows a lot saying, oh, we built this program to help you. And I feel like even me growing up, if I went on this tour, had all these places to look at, and obviously the learning is the most important part, but they're making clubs that in-depth. I mean, the clubs have been there, but like a team, like an actual team that I can try out for and make, and then they're getting that in-depth to get that aspect of my life. Yeah. I think that'd be pretty cool.
So, like, not to take a shot at non-athletic kids, but I guess having an esports club like this and a computer room area and the competitive side to being on this team, like you just mentioned, I guess it kind of gives those non-athletic kids an opportunity to, not to take a shot at non-athletic kids, but it gives them an opportunity to showcase their talents in a different way, I guess, and actually have a competitive edge that.
I totally get it. So also kids that aren't as social. I think gamers are looked at as nerds and people that don't really want to get out and talk. And I know a lot of especially a lot of these competitive esports that I know that are professionals. Yeah, they're very social and they're very they're not like nerds that hide behind the screen. And I feel like these programs will get them to be socialized more with people that play esports as well. That's important.
There's also a lot of kids in actual the normal sports that we know of, college football, baseball, whatever, that are pretty quiet too. Yeah. So I mean, there's both sports have their quiet, nerdy, whatever you want.
It's kind of changing the norm,
but
it's kind of changing the norm.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. So I brought up a quote that I thought was really interesting. Kind of brought up what I just said a little bit. This was the vice president for student affairs. He talked about what the program like this does for the school, and he mentioned, beyond the tremendous recruitment potential that comes with programs like this, we are also thrilled about the opportunities to build meaningful connections with this niche population of students. So kind of what I talked about with they're going to target these esports students to help build a community. I don't know if you know what I'm trying to say with that.
Yeah, I picture this as like Nick Saban for Alabama going to get his recruits.
Oh, yeah.
Now you're going to have a coach for the esports team recruiting. We're going to have a Nick Saban at Illinois State, something like that.
How does coaching work with esports? What do you do?
You're the one that's you're supposed to be telling me. I don't know.
So along with that, I also wanted to mention that esports can benefit beyond just the community. Things that people look at and they're like, what do you really get from it? The leadership aspect. You got the communication aspect of you have to strategize in the game and just talk to each other and just call out. It's very important. Yeah. And problem solving. like another thing. You have to realize how to beat somebody because there's ways to beat each other and like the strategies against certain strategies, and it goes on and on. The misconception that competing in video games is unhealthy is changing. Studies show that when you're doing esports and part of a club or whatever, you eat better, you do more exercise, and get better grades. All of which parents continuously tell their kids that it like ruins it. Like, you know what I'm saying? So like, if you tell someone you're an esport, they kind of get this, like, they think you're unhealthy and you don't do this stuff. You know what I'm saying? Like,
well, how do you do more exercise?
You do more exercise?
Yeah.
So
when you're out playing on a computer or something.
I mean, it's true, but like, it gets you out of the house. So if like, for example, if you're playing in your house, you don't leave. If you leave, you'll see more like you. First of all, you have to get there. But second of all,
you're talking about getting to the
so like you have to get to the club or whatever. You leave your house instead, but you see other people and like it just gives you I don't know. It just gives you an urge to go work out more. I don't know how it works, but apparently this misconception, like it's not right. So that people, not that it's incorrect, like it's just not correct. Like it's different now, and the schools are realizing that and they're embracing it. So Illinois State is taking looking at this and they're like, oh, this is helping students out more than it is harming them. Yeah. Let's work on that, you know? Cool thing, one of the coolest things about this is that popular cultures, they're investing in it. So people that we know, like that are famous, are putting money into this because they know there's money behind it. For the longest time, people stopped playing these games because they're like, why should I get better if I'm not earning money by it? And it's different now. It's just changing. So people are starting to work and focus on esports again and play them more, you know? So now they're taking it as a hobby. So I'm going to share a story with me. So when a lot of times in programs where they put you in a circle and you like get to know your games, like just share a hobby about yourself. Yeah. I never want to say that I'm good at a game because I feel like that's not really a hobby. You know what I'm saying? Like it's not really embarrassing, but it's just not cool to share.
It sounds like you're just more embarrassed than like anything though. I mean, that's a hobby.
Yeah, I mean, it is a hobby, but like if I say, oh, I'm good at, for example, I play 2K, I'm good at 2K, well, everyone's going to be like, what is 2K? Like, some people don't even know what it is. Yeah. And like, there's a competitive scene behind it. People just don't understand. So yeah, I just kind of shared that a little bit. So going from that, so I kind of brought up the popular, like famous people are putting money into it. I'm just gonna share some that are putting money into leagues. This is gonna kind of shock you, I think, and whoever's watching this. Marshawn Lynch, you kind of look at him. Maybe he would. Like if you think about it, maybe he would. Yeah. Jennifer Lopez, Joe Montana, Shaquille O'Neal, and the biggest one I think it's not really. This isn't really he is famous, but like he isn't like as famous as those other people. But he's a businessman, like a very popular businessman. Yeah. Robert Kraft from the Patriots. He has a team in League of Legends, or I think it's Overwatch. It's Overwatch. He has a team in Overwatch. That's crazy to me. Yeah. These businessmen are putting money into it.
That reminds me, you say Robert Kraft, the owner of the Los Angeles Rams, formerly St. Louis Rams. Stan Kroenke, he has an esports team too right now.
Yeah.
And so I think I had that in my presentation class, but yeah.
And I don't think you're just doing it to do it like it's cool. They're doing it because they see money in it. Yeah. And they see, let's culture, and it's kind of, that's at the big scale. It's a big scale. In colleges, kids are gonna start wanting to play them more. They're gonna start wanting to play it. Like they're gonna start wanting to go to these places and learn how to play competitively. And if you have coaches and stuff, again, I don't know how that would work. Yeah. I'm not too understanding about that. But coaches there that teach you how to play these games, like tell you where to run to and stuff like that, it's just cool to me. And a big example of this, another crazy thing is 2K. Like the game I play, there's 21 teams now. They're going to the second season, and they had a draft, like an actual draft to pick up people, like the best people. And the reason why it's so crazy is because these are actual NBA teams. They're actual NBA teams that own these teams. The reason I say 21 teams because not all of them are in it yet. But the second season, like 4 or 5 extra teams got added. So what they do is they own these teams. They draft their people. They have coaches, but they live at this facility where there's exercise. They're forced to exercise, so that's where that exercise will come from. They're forced to do it because they're competitive. But they're forced to exercise. Their diet is calculated. They're forced to do all this stuff other than play these games, and they're supposed to do it together to build a community. It's kind of like a sports team. Mm-hmm. It's really like a sports team, and it's becoming a big deal. Yeah. And what happens is how they find their people is they have a combine. They have a combine. They throw it to everybody. Like you play as many games, you win this percentage of games, you can apply for this and fill out an application. And right now the combine's going on to where you go on by yourself. You get a player that's considered competitive, and use that player with random people you've never met, and you fight. And a lot of people are like on my friends list because I have a lot of friends that play it. They're all like, "Oh, I gotta go on this combine and earn this." It's really hard though, obviously, but these people are like really wanting to be on this team. So what do you think about that? Like these two sports teams embracing?
Yeah, I mean, the game 2K is basketball, and if they're backing it, that's pretty cool.
It's cool.
You feel like you're, I guess, a part of that, your favorite team maybe or something. You know, like in a way you couldn't actually be for real. But yeah, as the athlete playing basketball, I guess. Now you can be a part of that team in a different way, I guess. If that makes sense.
So, why do you think, we kind of went into this a little bit, obviously. Why do you think people in recreation are focusing on this trend? Like you were talking on the big scale, right? We have the big scale of these esports, and it's like, that's when you get professional and stuff like that. Why are we caring about this if a lot of people don't make it professional?
I think it's just a different way to reach out to a different crowd, a younger crowd of people, that diverse group of teens and children growing up in this technology world, I guess. I don't know. It's all I can think of. I don't know. I mean, yeah, it's like I said before, I think it's just gonna continue to grow. You're gonna see more and more of this all over the place, especially.
It's a good thing, right?
Yeah, I think it's a good thing. Yeah.
So I kind of looked at some research, the crazy rise of gamers. So like lately, because these professionals, people are like playing more now. Like I said before, because the money is there. But even if you don't think they make money, it's still a fun game to play. And since you're seeing all these top-notch players play, you want to play it more. You look up at baseball, you see, I'll say basketball. Steph Curry. If I see Steph Curry play, he looks like he's having a blast all the time. Obviously not now, he's hurt. But he's having a blast. I want to play that. So what about games too? Like more people are like, oh, I want to do that and play that. Fortnite's a big thing right now. I see this World Cup happen. I want to do it like
You're
that.
You're inspired by the people you watch, yeah.
So it's kind of cool.
Influenced.
It brings people outside of their house to come to your facility. So if, for example, I work for a facility, let's say I work for the Y. Sponsored by the Y, not really. But let's say I work for the Y. What I can do is I can put an area for gaming, and then they come to your facility more, and it doesn't mean that every time they're going to come, they're going to game. They might want to work out more. They want to spend money to have a membership, you know? The embracing the new generations. So that obviously you have a new age coming up, like a new generation. It's called Gen X, correct? Or are we Gen X?
Oh, God. I don't remember.
No. I think it is Gen X. Oh, whatever. They call the technology gen or generation or whatever. But they're so focused on technology, gaming's technology. So it's like, although a lot of times we talk about how it's a bad thing that they're too much on technology, it could be a good thing for us, like a recreation facility. We could put it into our facilities and pull these generation out to work out more. You know? Kind of good idea about it. So yeah, I brought up kids nowadays are obsessed with video games. Oh my goodness. It could bring in revenue. I said that really loud. Not only is there a sense of community with these clubs, recreation agencies could earn money from them as well. So if you look at a business, a lot about a business is looking at people and then seeing like try to equal the value of your what's what I'm looking for, program to equal the amount of money they want to spend. So I want to make your experience. I want to make your experience is worth the amount of money you want to spend. So like so esports are worth the money now. That's what I was kind of go with that. Esports are worth the money now. So if I'm making this section for gaming, they're gonna want to put money into a membership, and that'll give you a lot of money. I'm sure a lot of more people will register for your programs if you make this section, realizing that you care about their experience. You know, get what I'm going there. Another thing I want to target. So, kind of going with getting their value out of it. So a lot of times these big gaming rigs, like the big time, the good ones, they're like worth like $1,000 the cheapest. So they're expensive. So if you put these computers and you have them pay a membership to be on them, not only are you getting them to your facility, they're spending money to do it, but also you're looking at their needs and you're looking at because they can't afford those computers, and it allows them to compete with other people. Like I'm able to go here because I spent money on it. I'm able to play these games on this expensive gaming rig, which obviously will be a lot of money for the facility at first.
Yeah.
But in the long run, it'll add up. These memberships will add up. Memberships will add up, and it'll get you money. It'll get you revenue. So not only is it there, but they'll spend money on it. Now I just want to get up to my last part, and this is the reason why I think it's coming up now all of a sudden. So we kind of talked about people, like they always played. A lot of people always played, but why is it becoming a trend for recreation now? And I think a lot of it is based on looking up to these people and like seeing all this culture that's like professional and wanting to be like them, right? So I'm gonna bring up Nate Shot, and like this is a professional. Like we're talking about recreation, but the reason why I want to bring Nate Shot, he's a gamer. He used to be a gamer. He grew up in the Call of Duty era, and people loved him, and he was really good at it. And for a long time, like people, like his views on YouTube just went up and up and up, and it's soaring now. And he's a really big. He actually retired, but then he moved on to make an esport team, 100 Thieves. And the reason why 100 Thieves is like a big time like organization in the esports world right now. The reason why I want to bring up, so people started playing because they saw they've seen him play, and they know he's a good guy and stuff like that, and how successful he's getting. So people want to be like that. And I kind of compared it to Steph Curry earlier, like just like looking at Steph Curry and knowing he's having fun, I want to have fun. But I'm saying Nate Shot changed the game. He changed esports in general. And if you think about it, in another sport, basketball, who changed the game?
To me, Michael Jordan.
Michael Jordan changed the game. And after Michael Jordan, basketball has never been the same. He made the game what it is today. And I think Nate Shot, even though he's not in the Call of Duty right now, because his team's not in the Call of Duty league anymore, because it's how I'm not going to get into that. But people want to play these games because of people like him. Nate Shot changed it. And there's a lot of other people that I know in the community that like did stuff like this, but like I think it all goes down to him and him playing the game and him succeeding. And then not only that, but after he retired, continuing to be involved in making probably the top community right now in esports in the 100 Thieves. So that's more of the professional.
He's
side.
young. He's young.
He's still young. Yeah, he's still young, and he's like.
I don't know him. Like I don't watch his stuff. I don't pay attention to like esports and stuff. But I know of him, and I know there's something on Netflix about him, and I know he's really young. Yeah, really, really young. So he's already retired from gaming.
So people want to be like that,
yeah.
And since more people want to be like that, the recreation agencies should take advantage of that, and people will get out to their facilities more, right? You have to embrace it. You have to embrace it. I'm going to go over the conclusion of what I talked about. That's all the points I'm going to make. But things we went over. We went over the history of esports, how gaming has always been a thing, but is now becoming a mainstream trend. Like it's becoming a big thing. The benefits of being on an esports team, sense of community, you have the leadership skills. How and why recreation agencies should incorporate esports in their programs. Embracing the new generation, making a profit out of it. Why esports broke out as a huge trend in 2019. I think a big part of it is on Nate Shot and the impact and what he's done to the community. But yeah, that's what I got.
Nice, man. Cool. Good stuff. All right, so completely switching gears now. Yeah. We're going to talk about dark tourism. Have you ever heard of dark tourism before?
I've not heard of it.
You've
before.
Not heard of it.
No.
All right. So tourism is a big part of our field, obviously. I don't know if you were thinking about going into tourism at all, but I know a lot of us in class have the park district aspect and want to do something with parks and recreation specifically, not so much tourism, but I know tourism is a big part of our field.
And I'm going to New Zealand coming up,
yeah.
And a lot of New Zealand's, like a lot of countries out there, it's like a lot about it is tourism,
yeah.
and so there's a good point, like I'm going to say real quick, there's a good chance that I'm going to get into tourism because that's just like what's going on out there in New Zealand.
Yeah, you've traveled before a lot. I'm sure you like traveling, so...
Yeah, I never thought that I would travel like that, but...
All right. Well, dark tourism, so what is it? So dark tourism it's tourism or visitation to locations that are associated with death or tragedy.
What?
I don't know if you were expecting that.
I can kind of think dark, like a different type of tourism.
Yeah.
So it's like people that like do things because they're like dangerous.
So it's people who have that thrill-seeking side, I guess, will go do these kinds of tourism trips and stuff. But so dark tourism itself it's just associated with places and things that are associated with really dark times, death, tragedy of like mass numbers.
Oh my goodness. Okay. I think I have an idea of what you mean.
Yeah. So one of my favorite shows on Netflix is called Dark Tourist, and that's kind of where I got into dark tourism. I never knew a whole lot about it beforehand until I watched this show, and I was like, wow, it's neat. It's a guy named David Ferrier from New Zealand. He's a journalist.
New Zealand?
Yep, New Zealand. He goes all over the country and then all over the world to find these spots that people from all over the world will travel to kind of get their thrill-seeking side going.
Sounds
and
cool.
it is some awesome stuff. So, like I said, people from all over the world are into this. It's not just a certain type of group of people. It's everybody. Can you think of any places in the United States that are associated with dark?
In the United States?
And that might be associated with dark tourism.
I
don't know. Like, you don't know a whole lot about the topic, but maybe you can think of...
So you're saying like it's something that you go to because of the history of it? So kind of like a war,
yeah.
like, or maybe 9/11, like.
Yeah, there you go. You had
like
right, perfect. So 9/11. That is considered a dark tourist spot. So where the Twin Towers stood, they now have the memorial there. Obviously, a lot of people lost their lives on that day, and they're memorialized where those buildings used to be. That is a huge dark tourist spot. Definitely that's one of them. Pearl Harbor.
Oh, Pearl Harbor.
Hawaii.
Yeah.
Japanese attack on the United States.
Yeah.
Yep. That's another big tourist spot. Alcatraz. Have you ever heard of Alcatraz?
Yeah.
San Francisco. I've been to Alcatraz before. I don't picture this as a dark tourist spot just because it's not really associated with death and tragedy, but it was home to very infamous people. Al Capone being one of them.
From Chicago.
Yeah.
Right on the corner.
Yeah. So it's just, that's not so much the death or tragedy side of dark tourism. That's more of the history side of dark tourism. Why people might want to go there. But me having gone there before, it's awesome. Really cool experience. If you haven't been there, I'd check it out. When you go there, you get like a headset and a speaker, and you can walk around the entire facility, the entire island, and each part you get to will explain it to you in your headset what's going on.
Is this something that people put money into? You might go into it, but is this like, because I know 9/11 or the Twin Towers, I don't know if you should consider like the area 9/11.
Ground Zero.
Ground Zero. Ground Zero is a better way to say it.
The memorial.
Yeah. So Ground Zero, we went to New York one time, and we were by there. We never went to Ground Zero, and I remember they paid a fee. You paid a fee to go into it. Oh. Is it like a huge fee, or is it like Alcatraz that you pay anything to go? I'm sure you do some.
You know what? I was so young when we went, I don't remember. And I didn't really look into that part of the 9/11 memorial area. So I don't know. But I know the fact that you go all over the world for these things, you're paying money to travel. So there's that aspect. And I'm sure a lot of these places do charge a fee. There's museums and stuff that you're obviously going to have to pay fees to get into museums, a lot of museums and stuff like that. But yeah, there's probably some kind of fee.
Yeah, it's really interesting. I think in the past I've found myself, like, honestly, at first I thought that this is like a bad thing that I did. But I find videos in general of tragedies, like not the fact that I'm happy that it happened, but just I find it interesting to like, oh my goodness, this happened. Yeah. This, like, humans could be this bad. And I feel like maybe going to them might be a little cool. It's cool to see.
It's a learning experience.
Yes. So Auschwitz, or not? Oh my goodness, not Auschwitz. Alcatraz.
Yeah.
Auschwitz.
Auschwitz is one of them too.
So Alcatraz.
Yeah.
Not necessarily a bad past, other than they had criminals.
It's famous.
So what? Yeah. So it's not just if it's had like I always talk about 9/11 and the fact that like a lot of people died, or Pearl Harbor, a lot of people died. Alcatraz necessarily.
I don't think there was a death at that prison, so it's not really. That's not. So
I'm sure there was some kind of death, but
but I don't think there was a recorded inmate death there. To be honest.
Really?
Yeah. I can check that again, but I'm almost positive.
So it's not just death; it's history that's just darker.
Yeah, it could be the dark history side to it too. But mainly associated with like death, tragedy, destruction, mass destruction, stuff like that. Yeah. So you mentioned Auschwitz, the concentration camps. Those are huge.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I just saw a video on a woman that was part of the camp.
And so the concentration camps. There's a ton of museums all over the world for like genocide stuff like this, and so those I think those bring in money. I'm not sure if a lot of them are. Maybe I don't know.
You have to pay to get into Auschwitz?
No. I'm talking about museums that.
Oh, museums. Okay.
But I know like I don't know. I was in D.C. last 2 summers ago. And I can't remember now if we had to pay to get into the museum. I think most museums in D.C. are free. So this might have been. I can't remember.
So I just lost my train of thought.
Yeah.
Never mind. Keep going. I'm sorry. I had something.
Another one. A few of these are mentioned in the Netflix documentary, but some of these aren't. But there's also the assassination of JFK. You can actually.
Oh yeah.
There's this now. This is a business, so this is that. I guess this is the money side. People run this business where they take you in the same style car that John F. Kennedy was killed in. On his,
same style car, so not the car.
Not the car.
That'd be a little advanced.
The same like model and year and everything.
Yeah.
And this guy started this company, and he'll take you on the exact route that they went on. And they'll go down the exact street, and they'll stop. I think they stop at the location where he was actually shot and killed. And so you get that full experience of being in JFK's shoes.
Yeah.
You know.
So you're experiencing death.
In a way, you're experiencing.
I mean, obviously not experiencing.
Well, you're not experiencing death.
Being like, what if I was JFK at that time? I was gonna get.
Yeah, I mean, it's gonna obviously provoke some thoughts, and you're gonna really feel the experience. You're involved in it. Yeah.
So, like a lot of these places, like they have such deep history, and like
that's the thing. It's
especially JFK.
Yeah.
Like the whole conspiracy thing, it's so cool. It's honestly cool to me. Yeah. Like it's like obviously someone died, but it's like, and then the conspiracy behind 9/11, like what happened? Like there's a whole thing about Bush being behind it. I'm not going to get into that, but like, and then Pearl Harbor is like all these like it's just so deep. History is so deep.
Yeah.
And I've never been one into history, but that kind of thing interests
me either. Yeah. But this stuff is interesting to me at least, and that's what I got out of this documentary that I watched too. So that's another one. The city of Pompeii, back in the ancient Roman city, back in 79 AD. So a long time ago, the Mount Vesuvius, the volcano up there, which is still active today.
Really?
Yeah, but hasn't gone off since like 1944 or something like that. But when that went off in 79 AD, killed about 16,000 people.
My goodness!
In that city.
Is that why it's not a city anymore?
It's still a city. Yeah.
Pompeii is still a city?
Yeah, but it's... I
thought you said, because sometimes they change the name and stuff.
No, it's still Pompeii.
I thought it was like gone.
But it's still one of the most dangerous volcanoes in the world. Oh, really? And they're expecting it to go off again. And if it does, it's going to be, tragic.
And people go to it still.
Well, yeah, so that spot where the volcano went off and killed all those people, I think they might have a museum there too. But yeah, people go there to see the city.
Imagine working there.
Yeah.
Like imagine working there and knowing that there's a chance you may die.
Yep.
They must have some serious like dark tourism people in that kind of business.
Oh, I'm sure, yeah. So yeah, there is the business side. I said before there really wasn't, but there is a business side too, where people make money off of showing people these areas and stuff.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Let's see what else. So in this documentary too, I'm gonna go back to the Netflix documentary now. he went to Japan, which you probably remember. You maybe remember this, the tsunami earthquake that happened back in 2011 in Japan, and I think it was Fukushima. First earthquake, then the tsunami, and killed more than 20,000 people, and more than 2,500 were missing, right? So when the earthquake happened and then the tsunami, it also disrupted the nuclear site that they have there and set off nuclear blast, the whole area around there. And so today, still from 2011, obviously nuclear, they still have high levels of radiation, and in some spots is higher than Chernobyl, which...
Oh, I know that, yeah.
And so that's a dark tourist spot that they did on the show, and they have tour buses that will take you around the area.
But you have to like wear something, right?
No, you don't have to wear anything, because the area that they take you to is considered you're allowed to go and enter this area.
Well, there are areas definitely that you cannot go in.
Yeah, but this area is deemed safe to go into now.
Why do you say safe?
Because it's not inhabitable.
Oh.
And it's not going to be for, I think they said, what was it, like at least 200 more years before it's going to be inhabitable. Like, yeah, it's just crazy. But so they had the Geiger counter. Do you know what a Geiger counter is? It detects radiation. That's a device that detects radiation. So, okay. So, back to this town in Japan, the city in Japan, Tamayoka. So they have tour buses that go through the city, and I think that's where you pay for your experience. They didn't get hit by the tsunami, but got the earthquake, right? And then they got that nuclear blast from the earthquake. So this is a big tourist spot because it's a ghost town. It's abandoned. You can't live there. It's inhabitable for the next 200 plus years, at least. So the guy running this tour said that 0.2 is the... All right, so the guy that runs this tour said, well, he lives in the area, so obviously knows, but so microsieverts, which is the measurement for radiation, he said 0.2 is the level where he'd start getting concerned. You know, when you see those on your Geiger counters. So usually everybody on these tours has a Geiger counter, and they, you know, as they're driving through the city, they're looking at their counters to see where they're at on those microsievert levels. And they got out of the bus at one point and were just standing on the street in front of a storefront, which is, again, this ghost town.
Yeah.
So that's a whole nother experience. It's like, yeah, it's this huge city. It's just,
that's crazy.
Nobody's there. Yeah. And this one girl looked at her Geiger counter and saw that it read 0.75.
Oh my gosh, that's way higher than what it should be.
Way higher. Well, it's going to be that high because that's the area. That's why it's inhabitable. Yeah. It's, you know, but normal levels are below, you know, like 0.2, way below 0.2.
Yeah.
You know, so that's when you start getting concerned.
So do you think people like brag about that kind of thing? What? Like brag about, oh, I was here with this radiation, I might die. You know?
I mean, maybe, but it's like, do you really want to expose yourself to radiation because of the effects that it has? You know?
Yeah, I don't know.
It's scary. It's scary. It's a risk, you know, you're taking, but I guess that's the thrill seeker side of people want to do this stuff. Mm-hmm. I'm sure they use it as bragging rights, yeah. But just to kind of put that into perspective, living near a plant, like a nuclear plant in general, anywhere, you're going to be exposed, or your body's going to absorb 0.09 microsieverts in a year, right? So, you know, not a whole lot, but you are going to experience some radiation effects, right? 1 microsievert, 1.0 microsievert, that will at once will cause illness. So they were at that 0.75 mark, and that lady started to freak out because she's getting close to that point where you're gonna start feeling something, probably. You know?
Oh my goodness.
So yeah, it's.
Do you feel illness like one instantly?
I don't know. I'm sure you probably kind of like symptoms. You probably develop symptoms and get sick or something. Yeah, but. So that's that. That's the nuclear portion of dark tourism, whatever. And then there's another one in Japan too. Have you ever heard of the suicide forest?
Kinda,
yeah.
But not in the right context.
Yeah. So the suicide forest is this very large forest where it's known that people will go there and not come back. And
isn't that the video where Jake Paul had his video?
Yes, the YouTuber, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So. people will go there and commit suicide, and I think a lot of that contributes to the fact that they're held to a lot of high standards in that country, and they can't handle the social pressures, and they go to the forest and take their lives. And
people go to it because
people find this as a kind of tourist attraction.
Do you think it's haunted or?
Yeah, so it could be haunted or but they also have like park rangers that go through the forest that kind of know their way through the forest and know what times to leave before they will not find their way out, because when darkness hits, you can't see at all in this forest, and it's huge. Like, it is massive. But they'll have people go through to find lost people, hopefully save their lives, and if they find dead bodies, try to bring them out. But that's kind of scary. I don't know if I would do. Would you do something like that? Like, go to the suicide?
I don't like dead bodies. I don't.
Well, I mean, I don't know if you would see specifically
there's a
see
chance.
something. There's a chance, but like,
that's scary.
Yeah,
I don't like that. I don't like that. That I don't like. I like the idea of going to these national places where it's like the past and things happen there. But I would never go to suicide forest, and I would never go to a place that is radiated. That's scary.
Yeah. No, yeah. I don't know if I would do this suicide forest either. It's just, that's crazy. But it's a type of dark tourism again. So how this is a trend? These are huge tourist destinations.
Yeah.
It's something different than normal tourism. Just going to another country to get that experience. I know Jeff talked about going to, when he goes to other countries, he likes to live stay in the area where the people live to get that experience and be away from tourists. Like, that's a cool kind of tourism. I think I would like to experience that too. But with dark tourism, it's a thrill, it's a rush that I don't think you get from anything else, right? It's like, it sounds completely different to you. You never heard of it, and you're like, wow, this is interesting. And then I think you get both an education and you kind of learn the history on a lot of these places, which is... Yeah,
and I never, I knew these places existed.
Yeah.
But I never knew that they had, a name for it. Mm-hmm. I didn't know it was, is it technically a hobby for people? Does that people use as hobbies?
Yeah, it could be a hobby. Yeah, people go specifically just to places that are specialized in dark tourism. Yeah. And... Yes, it gives you that rush. The main attraction, I think, is the historic factor for a lot of these places. So obviously you don't want to see death, right? But you want to know the history behind it, and you find that fascinating. I've personally never, you talked about this earlier, you aren't a history person. I'm not either. I'm not a big history person. But history now, the older I get, I kind of think it's more interesting to me. I don't know if that's with age. I've come to like history more.
Yeah. So the main thing about me not liking history when I grew up was that it's school and you're reading a lot. But I think growing up, getting different forms of that history is just so much cooler. Mm-hmm. And that's where I think dark tourism is really awesome, because you go to these places and you're kind of getting a different experience. Like, you're seeing it. At school, you can watch a video, you can read a book. It wasn't fun, but now that you're seeing it and you're going to these places, it's much cooler.
Yeah, and I know from watching dark tourism videos and watching the Netflix special documentary thing, it's like I see it and I'm like, wow, some of these places I want to go to, because you see it, and you want to go there. That's awesome. Let's see, so dark tourism is on the rise. Dark tourism has always been there, I guess you could say, but the term itself is what's new.
Mm-hmm. So kind of mentioned there.
Yeah, so people have been doing dark tourism trips, like the Pompeii volcano thing. People have been going for years, but the term itself is new within probably the past 30 years, 20, 30 years.
Great.
Fairly new, right? And maybe not as new as esports, like the whole competition side to it and everything, but yeah. So museums are seeing rising numbers now, like genocide museums, Holocaust and stuff like that. They're seeing a rise of people traveling to come visit those museums, get the history behind that. And then fallout zones, like the nuclear sites and stuff, those are also seeing tourists are demanding to see those areas a lot more now. So that's another thing. A big question, though, is, do you think this is an ethical form of tourism? How do you view it?
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't go to a forest, and if I that we're talking about the suicide forest, right? Like the YouTuber went there and he made a joke about one of these people that because he found someone that was dead. Yeah. So he found this person that committed suicide in the forest and made a joke about it, and it was a big conversation in the YouTube world. But yeah, I like it because it's history, it's learning. You never can go wrong with learning, and I feel like going to these places. I'm honestly against going to a place that's radiation that could kill somebody. But like other places, like Pearl Harbor and stuff like that, just see the history. It's really cool, and I don't know why it would be ethical.
Yeah. So like you're not seeing, once you go to the suicide forest and see a body or something, you're not actually seeing people dying in front of you and things like. So that's not what this is. So it's like I think it's educational. So that's why I think it's ethical. So this guy, Dr. Philip Stone, he had an article in the National Geographic. He is he runs the Institute for Dark Tourism Research at the University of Central Lancashire, if I'm saying that right. So back to the ethical form of tourism thing, this is what he said. He's quoted saying, "I'm not even a person who enjoys going to these places, but what I am interested in is the way people face their own mortality by looking at other deaths of significance. Because we've become quite divorced from death, yet we have this kind of packaging up of mortality in the visit economy, which combines business, sociology, psychology under the banner of dark tourism. It's really fascinating to shine a light on that."
So like shining a light on the history of death.
Yeah, the business side of it and the social side of it, and the way people think about it.
So it's kind of a way like in the past where like the Egyptians would praise their king, like they would put them in. That's how mummies became a thing, right? They grabbed them up and they celebrated their death. Yeah, and that kind of thing.
And they do. There are dark tourism spots where they celebrate death. And also in that Netflix documentary, I forget which country it was, but they went there and they have, I forget exactly where it was, but the lady that they buried, I don't even think they buried her. They have her body still, which is now down to the bone.
Oh my goodness.
Only basically almost to the bone. There's still skin on, but they dressed this lady up and put blankets on her and like worship her. So
okay, that kind of thing ethical? I don't know. I don't know if that's ethical.
Well, in this country, that's how they see respecting this dead.
So it is ethical for them.
For them, yeah.
Like that would not be a thing.
Ethical to you? Would you do that? Probably not. I wouldn't do that. I don't know if I want to.
That's different culture, so we can't really say.
Right. Different. Yeah. So yeah, that's why I think it's a trend, because it's a type of tourism, and it's a different type of tourism that I think a lot of people are interested in. I'm interested in stuff like that, obviously. Right?
Yeah, it's
not
same.
Certain things, certain things, no. But yeah, as professionals, so like I said earlier, tourism is huge in our field. Most of us have probably traveled at some point in our lives and been tourists somewhere. Do you have a favorite vacation spot?
I guess I don't really. I don't know. I don't really think about that because I don't really travel that much, as much as like we made it sound earlier. But like obviously going to New Zealand, I like it a lot there. It's really nice. It's a beautiful place. But I was gonna say, what was I gonna say? It's different. So it's not like it's cool because it's not like your normal. Oh, I'm gonna go to a beach, right? And I'm gonna relax at. Like obviously, if you go to Hawaii, you can still have that. But I'm not. It's like I'm gonna go to a beach because of this. But if I'm going there because of this place, I think it's really cool. Yeah, I think it's just different.
Like a lot of these things, it's almost like you're signing up to be a participant and being like fully involved in this experience. So you're not going to a beach. You're not just relaxing. You're gonna be immersed in the experience. And I think that's we talk about in like Olivia's class, the experience economy. This is the full-on experience. And you're getting a history lesson. There's people that dress up to play these parts, like the JFK thing.
Really? They dress up?
Yeah, there's they have the car, like that's replica of his car.
Yeah, I remember.
And then there's I think there's a lady that dresses up like JFK's wife, and they'll kind of act out like a scene, like a role play thing. It was really weird, but
that is strange.
Yeah, so it's definitely a huge experience.
Another question I have for you, or both of us, I guess we can talk about it, is when you think of your family and you're thinking of vacation for your family, do you take your kids to these places?
Yeah, I don't know. I think I don't think you really take your kids to these
Yeah, because
places.
I don't, especially, I mean, obviously not the unhealthy ones, but like, I'm talking like 9/11, like, do you explain to them what happened? Like, or
I think that, yeah, because I'm like, when we were growing up, going through school, in our history books, we see about war and destruction and things like that, right? So I think 9/11 is now in the history books and stuff, and kids are learning about it. I think they should learn about it. It's something
because they're going to learn about it anyways.
Yeah. They're going to learn about it at some point in their lives, and I think they need to know. It's important to know. So that, like something like that, I would bring your kids to. Yeah.
Maybe not Alcatraz or Auschwitz.
Alcatraz, I would too, maybe.
You take it to Alcatraz?
I was young when I went there. I wouldn't say really.
I guess but I mean, is it going to be? I guess it won't be very fun, because they wouldn't understand it yet.
Yeah, they probably wouldn't understand it as well as adults would, but seeing a prison, or more now, it's like, well, not abandoned, but an old prison, I think is a cool experience. You know, you kind of, you can find a way to teach your kids about stuff.
Yeah.
But a lot of these places, like the radiation thing, I don't think I would just expose my kids to radiation levels, you know, in the nuclear sites. But
yeah,
most of it, I think you would just go on your own or with a significant other, just to experience while you can before you have kids or something like that. But yeah. So yeah, that's pretty much it about dark tourism. To conclude, so again, the term itself, dark tourism, is fairly new, past 20, 30 years, but people have been visiting sites like this for
that's super
hundreds
cool.
of years. You know,
I think it's super interesting to think about.
Yeah, and there's tons of. I mean, tourism's huge in our field, like I mentioned. I think it's a different type of experience you're not going to get anywhere else. And you can watch videos and be like, oh, that's cool, but I think you want to go there and actually this is something I want to experience, just because it's that I have that thrill-seeking factor to me, and I find it an adventure that I think would be really fun. So
yeah, super cool.
Yeah,
super cool. Well, thank you for listening. That's the end of our podcast. We did bring up esports and dark tourism, and I think we both learned a lot about the things that we each researched, and I thought it was a cool experience for me. I think it was cool. You think?
Oh, definitely. Yeah, those are good topics. Yeah.
So I just want to mention we did do this in one sitting, and the reason why it's cutting all over the place, things happen that we couldn't really control.
Yeah.
Anyways,
hopefully we're able to cut it right.
We're gonna try to edit it now. But thanks for listening, and yeah,
see you. Thanks.
Yeah, bye.
So after going through some edits and like rewatching the video and stuff, I realized on my Alcatraz portion, I mentioned that there were no deaths there, so I didn't think that it was really considered a dark tourist spot for that reason. I had my notes completely wrong. What I meant to say was that there were no actual inmates put to death on death row. There were deaths there, suicides, and then both from that, and then prison guards killings, stuff like that. But yeah, as far as death row is what I meant to say, there was not a death row thing, and I completely screwed the facts up on that. I apologize.
But we found it, and we fixed it, or you fixed it, and yeah, thank you for watching.
Thanks.